introductions, and then I can give you a little more context as to what we're hoping to get out of today. So I'm Jess. I work for a company called Metaphor Biotechnologies. It loosely is an AI/ML driven antibody design company.
Mm,
And I do kind of some of their corporate strategy work. Before this, I was at Flagship Pioneering as an associate, and then before that, a couple of different stints in biotech, both in science, wet lab, and in some of their business development. Um, and so, maybe before I turn it over to you for an intro, I can just very quickly talk about what Metaphor is hoping to get out of and out of this conversation and what it might look like. But as I said, we are an AI ML driven antibody design company, and
mm,
we've noticed, and I think everyone has noticed, that the rapid pace of innovation in machine learning across biotech, across drug discovery, has really just even accelerated from what it was a year ago, 2 years, 4 years ago,
mm,
and that there are all kinds of maybe more unique and creative deals happening between more either in silico or technology-driven companies, your tech bios, and
mm,
pharma and other strategics, but also that the landscape of the industry and field as a whole is going to change significantly. And so we're
mm,
trying to do this effort and talk to experts like yourself who have experience and really understand what does that future look like? Who out of today's companies are best positioned to capture some of that value? How would native or naive companies start investing to really learn or to really capture that and ride that wave of AI-driven value? And we're hoping to publish these findings in an article or a post and just kind of share with the field what we've seen. Um, and again, we're keeping it very, very broad as to what this future might look like. So this is why we are hoping to talk to you and get your experience and insight. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sure. I hope I can, help. Uh,
I'm sure you can.
mhm.
But yeah, maybe just to start, if you wouldn't mind just giving me a little intro on yourself and current and previous roles.
Yeah, I come from mainly clinical background.
Hmm.
So I have a PharmD and I worked as a clinical pharmacist, even as a healthcare provider, like the primary care provider, for some while in Egypt. And but then I moved, transitioned to research, and I worked in drug discovery in Egypt. I came here to California. I did this master's in AI here in San Francisco, and I did some work with some genomics, pharmacogenomics, also drug repurposing and using graph neural networks. Also did some PKPD modeling. Using the traditional tools such as the non-mem. So I had some little bit of experience here and there. Uh, and right now I'm interested in precision medicine. I think that's the future of medicine. I think also drug development. Uh, you the drug development I think is gonna go through two major changes.
Okay.
Um, First of all is basically the automation of modeling. I think modeling has been traditionally very slow. Also, it takes a lot of manual work from data preparation. Data preparation part only takes almost like 70 to 80% of the time of the
Hmm.
modelers. Writing the code, executing, and waiting for the model to run. Most of these old models are written in very like prehistoric languages, I would say. So they take a lot of time. They CPU bound. They cannot do parallel processing. Even the CPU itself is just run on one or two cores. And now you have the GPU, which is like have tens of thousands of cores, and you
Right.
can realize that there's some companies that actually try to break that, but this the problem is that uh, companies are very slow to adapt.
Hmm.
Re Regulators also are even slower. So the FDA are even worse.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's the main problem. But I think uh, I think that benefit is too good to just like um, miss or just not try
Yeah.
do the effort. So I think that's gonna happen. Uh, uh, Second thing is gonna happen in drug development. So what I said, I think so the automation. Uh, but also, yeah, the second thing is gonna be uh, the idea of subpopulation and precision medicine. Is basically is that drugs, instead of having one size fits all, and that's what's been the traditional drug development thing, you're just gonna see drugs that have been developed to subpopulations
Hmm.
instead of, so you have maybe, for example, you have something like Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease basically is being caused by different reasons, and based on the reason that is causing, you can treat the patient differently.
Hmm.
It's not like in blood pressure. So in blood pressure, for example, you can see even in blood pressure, there's some drugs maybe that works with some people and some not. But the way they do it is that, oh, I think, oh, as the patient is black, no,
Hmm.
then is the patient is old, no, then you give this medication.
Hmm.
Does the patient have renal failure? No, then you give. So it's kind of like this idea of traditionally, like, just walking through some kind of algorithm. If
Hmm.
this is not, if this is not, if this is not. I think that's just absurd. It just like it's just you have to. It doesn't work most of the times. You have to try two or three medications until you get to that drug. And secondly, it's just it's just too simple. It's just
Hmm.
too simple. There's, oh, okay, so a patient might fit into one category but also fit into another category. So which
Right.
one? So which kind of start in the tree you start? So it's just like too simple. And it doesn't work anyway. Even if you try, it just doesn't work. So I think subpopulation. I think AI help us to identify, tell us, oh, which patient should take which medication, and
Yeah.
even the drug itself, development process itself is gonna be uh, like, we're gonna develop this medication for this population, and based on this criteria, and AI is gonna help in selecting, like,
Hmm.
tell us which population is better suited, and
Yeah.
how we can identify them. So I think it has a lot of potential, and I
Yeah.
think that's the future. I think that's the right way to go through, and I think we have to enable it, not, be scared of it, because it's gonna help treat a lot of patients. Uh, it's gonna help a lot of people. So it's
Yeah.
the way to go. Yeah.
Well, so I think you raised some interesting points. Right now, we've seen probably the arguably the most successful class of AI in more of this kind of de novo protein design or protein structure prediction, at least within the lens of biotech.
Yeah.
And there's still a long way to go there, but that seems to have much faster validation capabilities versus clinical kind of translational prediction or even target discovery.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that, well, one, are those the three big areas, target discovery, de novo design, and clinical optimization, that we would use AI in drug discovery, or are there other niches that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty obvious one, protein structure,
Hmm.
protein design, basically. I think it's very powerful thing to do,
Hmm.
especially with rare diseases. Like, to think about immunology diseases, where you basically anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have bodies, like human bodies, just form autoimmune diseases against all kind of potential antigens, and you have antibodies just flowing in the plasma. Sometimes you have to do plasma transfusion just headache, and you do immunosuppressants if you don't have specific medication, and even if you do biologics are too expensive or they're not available. If you can do easy and fast protein structure against these kind of patients, is gonna help tons of patients.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of patients can do that. Especially the fact is just two things. First, medications are not available. So
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of diseases, they don't have medications. They don't have specific antibodies that they can treat them. Uh, and if they do exist, they are so expensive
Right.
because of the whole drug development process that goes into that. Traditionally, designing an antibody against an antigen just pain. It was too hard. It's very difficult. I think it was just using the chimeric thing. I think if you can just design it like from from the get-go, or like if you can do it fast, or like you just generate, maybe at least you can get like a sequence, protein sequence, or like RNA sequence, basically, that you can just inject and just generate antibodies right away. I think AI can help in that,
Mm-hmm.
and but it just depends on something called regulations.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Fair. Well, let me ask you, maybe um, aside from regulation, the kind of what you were saying before is we've generally gone for a one size fits all approach with a drug, right? For all
Yeah,
the patients under what we call one disease, which is really likely many different diseases that are presenting somewhat similarly but have different
yeah.
ontogeny. Will that fundamentally change how kind of biotech and pharma commercialize drugs? You won't really get these blockbuster single drug programs, but instead you'll have much smaller patient populations,
Yeah,
many more drugs that are much more precise for a niche
exactly.
subpopulation of that disease. Is that what you think the reality
That
when we fully
that's
realize
gonna
AI?
that's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna be accelerated by both the ability to identify subpopulation, and secondly also by what he said, protein structural prediction and
Mhm.
antibody design and stuff like that, that you can really can do easy design drugs, and
Yeah.
they will work, right? Because biologics is just not like like it's much safer, like it's much more predictable behavior
Yeah.
than the small molecules.
Yeah.
Small molecules basically are very unpredictable. Like you can drug discovery itself is a pain, but even when you get to the clinical trials, they're much more likely to fail for all bunch of reasons: for safety, for inefficiency,
Yeah.
for not getting the dose itself, for even just the delivery, just getting the
Hmm.
drug delivered into the site itself. And that's a huge problem, for example, um, in CNS medications, where you just
Hmm.
have the blood-brain barrier. Uh, but anything can go wrong, and you have very low probability of getting drugs succeeded in as a small molecules. That's why a lot of drug companies, if you look at the, like if you open, for example, I saw the Novartis page, and I saw what they are top selling medications. I think it was only one drug that it wasn't that was just like traditional small molecule
Hmm.
in the metabolism, like metabolic. But
Yeah.
all of these other drugs, I think they all oncology, immunology, and I think most of them were biologics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how already, like it's already happening in the market, that
Right.
companies are like using biologics, like
Hmm.
and so if you can actually make that process faster and cheaper, that's the most important part, right? If you
Hmm.
can make that process faster and cheaper, I think that's going to be the future, and that's going to be, as you said, a lot of companies, they have, it's going to have just like big programs and like big trials. You have a lot of small ones,
Hmm.
and uh, you know you're going to succeed, because more likely to succeed because they are biologics, they're not small molecules.
Right. Right. Fair enough. I think that's a very insightful point. And maybe that begs the question though, you know, with protein structure prediction, we have, some of the bigger models, AlphaFold, you have Boltz, you have Chai, you have isomorphic now.
Yeah.
But if we kind of fast forward a few years, maybe we have several kind of clinical optimization AI models and maybe some target hypothesis or target discovery AI models. Do you think biotech is moving towards more of a commoditization of these bigger models, or is there still a need or a balance for more bespoke models on like a per company basis?
I think one thing is just the big idea. I think uh, we can have both,
Yeah,
right? Because out there they are already. So the idea is that the secret sauce is not like it's not secret.
yeah, yeah.
So everybody knows how these models work. AlphaFold was open source
Hmm.
stuff, so we know how it was developed. So people have tried different variations. You might get some tools that they have some certain kind of advantages, edges. Like we see, like when they tried to come out with AlphaFold 3, they had this affinity prediction, stuff like that didn't exist. So you have these perks that they might, and you may have like a little bit of improvement,
Hmm.
precision here and there. So I think companies that they want the best thing, or they can afford to get like these perks to pay for it. They pay
Right.
for providing. But companies that they're just like they can't afford, they're just going to use the free stuff.
Hmm. But will the free stuff be good enough, do you think?
Well, that's actually I don't know. I don't know how. I think that's a business decision for the company. Like
Yeah.
is this is something that we are willing to like how much they are willing to
Right. Well, essentially,
invest.
do you think it would be maybe do you think any new biotech would want to have its own ability to generate proprietary data to train their models or commercially available models on? Is that a requirement going forward?
I think it's if you have some that I think if you have some data, maybe if you work maybe in specific domain,
Hmm.
uh, and you want maybe the best models in that specific domains, and you have data to fine tune maybe some of these models. I think
Hmm.
that's a wise decision to make,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking generally, where does the most defensibility or competitive moat sit when it comes to AI and biotech?
Uh, the most competitive things. That's a good question. So that's a very difficult question. Actually, it's not an easy
Yeah.
one.
That's why I'm asking the experts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's really hard to tell because we don't know. We don't have like concrete, like we don't have data yet.
Yeah.
Uh, I know like the development has been too very fast, but the adaptation is very slow, and we
Yeah.
haven't seen the thing is we haven't seen an AI drug
Mm.
approved, like actual approved
Right.
yet. Hmm?
Yeah. So
So the
more to come on that, I guess.
exactly, and it just like it seems to be it's gonna get there. Like it's not like something we doubtful for. Like it's just like it's just a moment
Yeah.
when you see like similar to the blockchain moment when you had a lot of people hyper about creating all of these digital coins, and people just some people mistrust. A lot of them failed, but some of them actually succeeded and stayed.
Right.
So you have Ethereum maybe and Bitcoin and some few others. They
Hmm.
stayed, they didn't disappear. But 90% of the others have just disappeared. 95%. Same thing with any kind of like hypes, .com like bubble. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of when you have some like big. wave. So you can see that that's already having the AI and the tech. But in the biotech, it's just for us. It's just, I think it's hard to tell
Yeah.
where is going to be the biggest potential or the biggest change.
Yeah.
And the thing is, most of the time, it is actually not the same thing that you predict.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough.
Huh?
It would be great if we knew the future, right? That would be very helpful. But yeah, very hard to predict.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, like, you think when AI, people thought about AI like a few years ago, they thought it's gonna automate the most boring jobs. So they think that people thought about self-driving cars
Mhm.
and robots, and that's gonna be the first thing to automate. People thought, nurses or, like, assistants. That's gonna be the first thing that AI is gonna take, but actually that didn't happen. And software engineer was the first job to be actually
Yeah, yeah,
automated by AI.
yeah. Quite unexpected, but yeah.
It was like complete, like nobody would expect that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you see kind of in biotech AI as a service being a legitimate business model or something that really starts to become more mainstream as opposed to maybe more vertical integration within a single company?
In drug development,
Yes, yeah.
I can see it as a service. Yeah, I think I'm building a company right now that
Oh,
basically,
wow.
other companies can use as a service. But the
Okay.
problem is with drug companies is that you have to convince them they can trust you. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, because for all those different reasons, also the data is also very sensitive when it comes to data sharing. So they want to use a tool that basically in-house, and they basically contained in a very secure environment, and they have all these legal loopholes, and even of themselves, even if you want to collaborate with some companies, like, the team itself, they're interested in working with you. The legal, so they might have boundaries within the company itself. They might have, like, the legal team and the executive, or, like, the bigger company policies just prevent them from that kind of collaboration, or just
right.
makes it, or even it doesn't prevent it, it's just too complicated that they just can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. So I mean, there have been some deals, right, that have occurred. Like I'm thinking of Lilly and Chai had a deal for kind of using Chai's technology. But do you think some of these complications and some of these legal worries will go away or become more streamlined as these deals perhaps become more common?
I think that's a good. I think competition will drive these companies to adapt faster.
Yeah.
Because if some other companies are doing it and basically managing, like, they already um getting advantage because of that, and the beating, so the other companies will have to adapt because they're just
Yeah.
like they just can't leave competition out.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe switching to kind of data generation and training of models. What are, in your opinion, the largest gaps in biological data today?
Oh, that's well, a good question. In terms of biologics or small molecules, or which field? That's like, what kind of
Yeah, I
thing?
mean, I guess we can narrow it down to biologics here, but maybe I'm curious for both actually.
I think small molecules problem with the data is that company. I think the problem is most of the valuable data are closed inside the companies.
Okay.
They're not available. Uh, People just don't want to share their data. It's not like ChatGPT where you have, like, everything is just publicly available. I think most of the data in terms of biologics are really with the companies, and they're just not going to share it.
Hmm.
That's the biggest problem. Uh, so if you so how you gonna do about that? How you work about that? I think that somebody have to go there and, you know convince. different companies, they tell them, you know what, we're gonna develop this tool that is gonna help all of us, but we need you to get on board with it with
Mm-hmm.
this. So how we're gonna do that? We're gonna give you the code. You can train it on your own data, and just give us just the weights.
Gotcha. So essentially for
And
small molecules, maybe it's access to these data.
access, yeah, it goes both for biologics and also I think the biologics also a problem is that there's a lot of companies out there that they are just pure software
Mm-hmm.
and they are just pure model development or the pure AI. That I think it's a problem if you don't have your own labs and you cannot just verify what you're predicting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think it's a problem with AI native companies.
Yeah.
I think you cannot. Maybe you can do it in software or something like that because you just cannot do it in biologics or like
Yeah.
in biology in general. You need ground truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe the validation component is incredibly valuable, and likely automation that allows you to scale is probably equally as valuable there.
Exactly, exactly. In biology, I think it's gonna be the biggest hurdle is data itself, whether it's just
Mm-hmm.
for training or validation. Um, uh, uh, biological data are expensive.
Yeah.
It's even more so than healthcare data because healthcare data are even just available. Like even if
Mm-hmm.
they are also proprietary, but they are generated every day automatically without even people spending money for it because just it just happens that
Yeah.
people just go to hospitals and get sick and get
Mm-hmm.
treated. So you have data being generated automatically, but biological data are expensive. They are much rare.
Mm-hmm.
They take a lot of hard time. If you want to do, I remember trying to do one experiment for a model I developed. So I developed the model in 1 month. The validation took 1 year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 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 That's a very good case in point. What about data quality? Is the quality of biological data sufficient for training and validation, or do we need a kind of a seismic shift in improving quality and
Well,
consistency?
that's a good point. Because I don't know because I think I have a hypothesis, but I'm not sure
Hmm.
that if you just train the data on low quality data, like if you train the model on low quality, if it's better to have few high quality data than have many data that's kind of mixed signals that
Yeah.
gives mixed, like give you the wrong thing to learn.
Yeah.
I think that its quality does definitely plays big role, and that's why you need not only engineers but also you need a domain experts to tell you if that's actually a good data to use, if that actually gonna. So you need to have people who basically can speak the both languages, that
Hmm.
they understand how these models learn, but also understand the data and what kind of data they can be actually integrated. And it does play a big role because
Yeah.
if you understand the data, you can engineer it in a way that basically that the model is going to learn better from
Yeah. Yeah.
and has kind of this kind of intuition about the data itself. It doesn't have to work 100% of the time because I experienced that when I have some kind of intuition about the data, but it doesn't work like right from the get-go. But you just keep trying and you know that this is going to work based on what you understand about the data. So keep trying and you get eventually get there and it just holds true that engineering the data in a certain way, by if you already understand the domain, it's just gonna boost your model performance
Right.
regardless of the model itself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And my next question was going to be kind of what capabilities should biotechs kind of invest in today, build internally versus outsource? It sounds like getting at least a few key kind of people that understand multiple kind of languages to be able to serve as a connective tissue between domain expertise and kind of model learning and reinforcement. But are there other capabilities that biotechs or other skills biotechs really need to invest in now to be successful in the future?
Yeah, well, you have to have uh, uh, basically a lab. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
have a wet lab
Yep.
to be able to at least, if not train, if not generate your data, at least verify what you're actually doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just make sure that you're going into the right direction.
Right.
You have to have experts. I think you should. But if you can, but you have to have experts in both sides, like in the wet lab side, and you kind of understand the domain that you try to compute, or like AI it, and the AI part that basically understand what kind of models we're using, which one are what kind of advantage of this one over this one, and why we should use this one, and basically be able to communicate. If you need to communicate with each other, and you need to have some kind of somebody in between to make sure to translate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's a difficult, like it's not easy thing, but you need to have a lot of conversations. I think that's where you need teams that they just talk with even if you don't have the translator thing or somebody who understands both things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the teams just be able to talk with each other,
Yeah.
and just take the effort to explain and just try to understand,
Yeah.
it's just gonna that's gonna eventually get something. And I think when I look, maybe like if you think about like how the AlphaFold was developed, like Demis Hassabis himself didn't understand anything about. I don't think he understood a lot about protein structure.
Right.
I think he
Right.
was just computer scientist, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he understand neuroscience or something like that, but I don't think he's understand protein. But he had other people with him that they understand the domain, and I
Mm-hmm.
think he spent a lot of time talking about the problem, understanding the problem, what even this is a good problem to solve. But you have different people in the team that basically understand different things.
Yeah. That makes, yeah, I mean, I think I 100% agree with you. And in the absence of having someone that can kind of seamlessly move from one side to the other, having kind of increased communication between two teams can
Yeah,
help at least bridge that gap a little bit more. Um,
exactly.
but thinking about that, thinking about some of these operational behaviors or investments that companies can make or are making, are there specific players or specific companies in the field that you think are doing a good job of positioning themselves for the future of biotech with all the AI enablements to come?
I think Genentech, one of the great companies, I think they're doing a lot of effort.
Okay.
I think they acquired Rich Bono company. Was basically doing also protein structure prediction or something like that.
Hmm.
Uh, and instead of so, I don't think Genentech has a big AI team, but they kind of acquired a company that basically really good at AI, and they were just like bunch of AI scientists, and they had all of these kind of people, and basically I think they are adapt. I think like Genentech is adapted to go ahead in the AI race in terms of protein structure prediction and
Yeah.
biologics design, stuff like that. I think that's one of the big companies that does it well.
Hmm.
I think uh, I don't see a lot of effort from big companies, and that surprises me.
Hmm.
Uh, like I don't see, say for example, I think Lilly right now is the biggest company, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Lilly, I think, and Pfizer. I'm surprised Pfizer. I don't see any adaptation from them. Lilly is the same thing, especially that's weird because Lilly is just basically have a lot of biological products.
Hmm.
Like they
Yeah.
do a lot of,
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
they do a lot of biologics. So I was just I'm surprised that why they are hesitant to invest in that. Or are they just waiting to see what's gonna happen? I'm kind of
Oh, I think I lost you, Youssef. Can you hear me? Sorry, Youssef, if you can hear me, I'm gonna turn the camera off, see if it comes back. If not, we'll exit out and join back in. I'm gonna exit and come right back if you can hear me.
what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I might have cut out there, but we're back now. But sorry, continue. You were talking about Lily.
Yeah, but I just also want to understand, get maybe your perspective on why Lilly is or some other companies are not jumping on that race.
You know, it's a good question. I don't know. I think that they may be um, waiting for more validation of how AI can improve the overall drug discovery process. I think some of these companies, are still coming out of maybe a harder than normal kind of biotech investment cycle, so they're holding on to their dollars a little bit more. I think there's a general issue, and I'm curious in your thoughts of overhyping capabilities across biotech with AI. Every biotech is now an AI-enabled company, and which ones are truly innovative versus just doing some very
Mm,
small tweaks on model frameworks that are not really that transformative. So I think that there's been a lot of hesitancy to bring a significant investment into AI. Now, certain companies are doing it. AstraZeneca is partnered with NVIDIA. They're partnered with Benevolent AI. The size of these investments perhaps are not as big as we might expect, given
yeah.
what could be the future.
Mm,
I think they're just a little bit slow to adopt, and they're still waiting for other folks to make the first leap or foray into the
mm,
field,
mm,
which is possibly a mistake. I think there's a big advantage to being first mover, but I
yeah.
think they also may lack the people and infrastructure for truly evaluating what the
Mm,
best AI bet
yeah.
is to make.
Mm,
That's just my general feeling after talking to just a few people kind of more in the know than myself, and try to synthesize something from that. But that's my thought there.
I see. I see your point.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be.
Do you think also because I know they don't like I know pharma companies they don't have big like cash like available to them like compared to the tech companies.
Right.
Uh, like they don't have much room to experiment. Do you think that's
Yeah.
also a big rule?
I mean, yeah, I think
They're
that
not
there
as
are.
rich as people think.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's fair. That's fair. Though you would think that like Novo Nordisk, for example, just had a failed, almost $10 billion bid for Metsera, for their obesity pipeline, essentially. And it's surprising maybe that other pharmas are not making similar sized bets, or even Novo is not making a similar sized bet into AI, though they have gone on quite a shakeup in their management. So that may be what's
Mm.
going on there. Um, but yeah, I guess that makes me wonder, do you think that there are AI capabilities that are currently overhyped in biotech? And maybe opposite of that, are there AI capabilities that are underappreciated?
Um, overhyped in the biotech. I would say in the tech maybe, but I don't think there is. I can't see it in the biotech
Hmm.
overhyped a little bit.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think maybe drug discovery in terms of small molecules drug discovery. I think it's overhyped.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's just, huh?
like AI assistance in small molecule drug
No,
discovery and
like trying to predict drug affinity, drug protein
mm,
affinity. I don't think you can do it with AI for some reason.
yeah.
It's not because I did some benchmarking myself. The
Yeah.
results are horrible. Docking, for example,
Yeah.
docking like still traditional docking techniques, old school like that, the ones that just runs on physics, they still do better results than the AI stuff. You see molecular simulations like MD simulations. I think they still better than AI.
Yeah.
But they're just too expensive, and they just require a lot of computations. Uh, for some reason, I don't know why, but it seems to be predicting binding between the small molecule and protein is extremely hard problem to solve.
Hmm. Very interesting. And I wonder then, I mean, you kind of noted this already, but will there be more of a shift towards biologics because of many of the reasons you said are favorable? And also now just, you can use AI enablement to a better and more kind of precise degree than in biologics than you can in small molecules.
Yeah, yeah, it's more predictable. I think that's why a lot of companies are going to heading to the biologics. But
Yeah.
you still need. Well, the thing is with small molecules, they're still useful in some kind of cases,
Yeah.
some kind of diseases. There are diseases or domains that biologics just cannot do anything. Uh, Psychiatry, for example.
Yeah.
You just cannot treat it with biological. You just need a small molecule to go inside, be able to enter the CNS, and just make some magic in the brain. Um, which is still, and there is massive need, by the way, in psychiatry. Like there's
Yeah.
massive unmet need.
Yeah.
But that's how I say overhyped, or I don't know
Yeah.
how actually can solve this, and I have a lot of thoughts about that actually.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot. But why is the but underhyped? I think uh, what we talked about, like creating, uh, designing proteins and underutilized. I think it's underutilized, massively underutilized. I think
Mhm.
we should be at a point where you can design a protein in the clinic for the patient and just like in under a month. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have a patient that walks into the clinic and he has a rare disease. Nobody have ever tried to target it, and just before the end of the month, you have medications just ready for him. I think that's the point that we should be able to. I don't see a reason why not.
Yeah. Well, how long until we're at that future, do you think, given our current pace and where we are today?
And it just depends. I don't know. It just depends on how regulations takes it. I think if the age is too strict, um, uh, European regulators are even worse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, so 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 I seen a case where somebody I don't know if you read about it, but some data scientist, they had a dog who has a cancer, and so he just talked with ChatGPT and he suggests to him to actually design a vaccine for that cancer, and he could just go ahead and design it and just go into a lab. It gives them an RNA sequence, and tell them, I just need that vaccine,
Yeah.
and just they create the vaccine for him, injects him into his dog, and the dog like has 50% less tumor size.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the guy just does it for himself. He doesn't care. He's just like, I'm gonna create my own medicine. Uh, and he does create his own medicine and treat his
Yeah.
dogs. So, why we just not seeing that with humans? Because there's regulations.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe on that, what are some of the biggest bottlenecks today for AI and biology? I know we're almost at time here, but is it strictly regulatory, or are there other kind of, hurdles?
Yeah, I think
Compute,
regulatory. I
data?
think regulatory. I think,
Okay.
yeah. I think it's just we need to we we can talk all day and night about predictions and accuracy of predictions and all of that. We don't really know what kind of improvement we can get
Yeah.
until we actually try and fail in the real world.
Yeah.
And that's basically is going to be the biggest learning experiment we can have.
Right.
So trying, and just getting understanding and learning from mistakes. I think that's what we need at this point. And just instead of just talking about it, we
Right.
need to actually apply it and just see the results. And
Yeah.
we might get something. We won't get it basically the first time, but we're gonna learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get there. But I think in principle, I think we have tools that are working enough that we actually can reach that vision that we want to see in the clinic.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. I know we're at time, so I'm gonna make sure I don't take too much of your day up. But anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you think is critical to kind of be thinking about in this field?
Yeah, I think it's I think we have to be careful, in some sort of things, because some companies are they just want to sell, and they just, oh, we did this and we achieved this benchmark or whatever, right?
Right.
I think you have to take every claim from, if it comes from a company, or even if it comes from an academic or something like that, and just still try to sell you the next biggest tool or whatever, right? I think you have to also take everything with a grain of salt, and just not be sold like something, because a lot of people will try to sell you stuff that uh, you might not actually need. They might not be even good. So yeah, you have to be also careful with that. The potential is there. The AI is actually useful, but be careful of bad players.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Youssef, this has been super helpful. Really appreciate you taking the time. Really appreciate the insight and expertise. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Can you share with me the recordings?
Yeah, sure. I can, I'll send it to you right after, well, at some time in the next few hours, because I have back-to-back meetings, but I can send that right to you.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for the
Awesome.
meeting.
Thanks, Youssef.
Yeah. Stay
All right.
connected.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.